Yo, what is going on, guys? Anthony back here today with a video, and today I'm going to tell you guys how I nearly failed all 4 years of high school. Now you're probably looking at me like I'm a complete idiot. How do you nearly fail all 4 years of your high school career, right? Let's just say I stopped giving a fuck about everything at one point. I stopped caring about grades. I stopped caring about what teachers said to me. I was saying a lot of mean things to teachers. And actually, maybe I didn't almost fail all 4 years. I almost failed 3 years of my high school career. Junior year, I peaked. But freshman, sophomore, and even senior year, I had very good chances of staying back, doing summer school. So let's bring it back to freshman year. What did I do wrong in order for me to fail? Freshman year was actually probably one of my worst years. That and sophomore year are definitely my worst years that I had academically. Just honestly, in my whole life, those were the 2 years that I really struggled with. But freshman year, I decided I was a little badass kid for a second. I saw people cutting class. So I had this one class freshman year. It was a history class. I think it was called World Culture. I don't care. I was never there for it. But it was a history class of some sort. And it was beyond boring. Beyond just every time I was actually in that class, for the very little time I was in it, I was falling asleep. I decided to one day cut the class, right? It couldn't have been that bad. It's just one little cut, right? So the way my school has it is there's 4th, 5th, and 6th period lunch. I always had 6th, right? I had history class on 4th. So I had 2 lunch periods. I didn't give a fuck, right? That class was way too boring for me just to stay in there. That class, it was not working with me. Do it once, I do it again next week. And then I do it again the next week and the next week. And then I start to get a little, a little cocky with it, I guess, because I'm not getting caught. In my school, you get caught once, it's 30 minutes, you get caught twice, an hour of detention, and so on and so forth. It just keeps building up. And I haven't been caught yet. I don't know how I haven't been caught. It's clear that I've been present for the whole day, and then for 4th period, I'm gone. None of my other teachers cared because they can see the attendance. No one cared. And so, as I said before, I was getting cocky. 6th period lunch, and I was already taking off 4th. Now, I felt there was no need for me to go back to school 5th period because I was just there for 1 period. I'm gonna go back to lunch. So there was at one point for a little while, I was doing 3 periods of lunch. I was not getting caught. I was getting away with everything. Everything that I was doing, I was slick with it. I was able to be slick with it. I had teachers not saying absolutely anything to me. My friends obviously weren't gonna rat me out, so everything was on my side. But eventually, it caught up with me. One of my teachers from a later period said, "Oh, why weren't you marked present for your 4th period?" And I told them, "Oh, I don't know, I guess they just didn't mark me. I mean, I came in a little later to the class, maybe they forgot." And then I used that excuse twice, and then 3 times, then 4. And the excuse was not an excuse anymore. I mean, you have to be a complete idiot to not realize what I'm doing here. So, my history teacher didn't really give a fuck that I was cutting class every day until another teacher, which was that teacher that caught me, spoke with that teacher, my history teacher. And then I actually show up to class one day, and she pulls me outside the room. She's like, "Can we talk to you?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." She's like, "Why are you cutting my class?" And I'm like, what? And she confronted me. She was angry. She didn't say it nicely, obviously. And she's like, why are you cutting my class? I don't get it. What is wrong with you? And I told her straight up, I'm like, "Your class is boring. You are a boring human being. I'm sorry, but you are so boring. The class is boring." And she just went, she's like, "Get back inside." went into the class, put my head down, took a nap. So freshman year took a little bit of a toll because obviously my grades were falling behind for that class. Then I also had grades falling behind in gym because I was always late to school. Gym was my first period and I was always late. So late to the point that I couldn't change anymore for gym. And if you don't change, that's an automatic 0 for the day. You don't get a grade at all. And it's either I'm coming in late or I don't want to change because it's first period and I'm still waking up. And I'm failing those classes every semester. And then my good old guidance counselor comes into play. Now my guidance counselor was supposed to guide me, right? Like it's in the name, guidance counselor. She sat me down, she called me and she sat me down and was like, "What are you doing, you idiot?" She didn't call me an idiot, but she just asked me like, what are you doing? Like why? And I just told her, I'm like, I can't deal with that class. It's so boring. And then she was like, all right, tough luck. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you either have to start going to class, start being early, or you're gonna be held back freshman year. And that's the part that scared me. That's the part that drove me to do really good on that last part of the year. And I started coming in earlier. I started changing for gym. I started showing up to that class. And I started studying really hard so I can pass history. Gym was just me having to come in early and get changed. I could, if I really tried, I could do that. I saved my ass freshman year. Now we have sophomore year. Sophomore year was really difficult for me in a lot of ways, but I really struggled academically also because for some reason, the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ did not make it possible for me to understand geometry. I remember my teacher for geometry. He was actually really nice. He's a really cool guy. He was actually part of the Air Force. So he was actually out a couple times and we have a substitute teacher. But as much as he was a cool guy, he was a shitty teacher. He was horrible teacher. And I feel so bad to talk to him or talk about him like that, but he was just not a good teacher. He would literally give our classes were like 40 something minutes, and for 30 minutes he'd go on about this one subject. Everyone's writing down notes, everyone's doing this, doing that, and he'd be like, oh, okay, so you guys, okay, so I'm gonna be straight up. This isn't gonna be on the test, but I just wanted you guys to, this is completely useless. And everybody would be like, what, then why are you teaching us? This isn't required. This isn't something that's gonna be on the test. And he would just keep doing that over and over. He wasn't good at explaining, but I could also take the fault in saying I didn't ask enough questions. I've always been a shy person. And so for me to raise my hand in front of everyone and say that I was having a problem with what he was trying to show us was really hard for me. I kept failing that class over and over and over. And I did really bad every semester. But I didn't help my case because literally it was me and my friend. We would get the quiz, he hands it right in front of us, lays it down on the table. My friend and I would look at each other because he didn't know anything either. We'd write our names on it and we'd hand it in immediately. And he'd look at us and be like, what are you guys doing? We're like, we don't know. So I'm not even gonna try. I'm not even gonna try to attempt because I'd rather just hand it in blank, not waste my time, his time, trying to look at something that's obviously wrong. No, just give me the 0, it's fine. And we would do that on almost every quiz. We would do that on almost every test. And for some reason, I guess I've done enough homeworks and I've done enough worksheets to get myself to like a 62, a 63. And you need a 64 and above to pass that class. And I couldn't pass those final quizzes. I couldn't pass those final tests that I needed to pass in order for me to pass for the year. So I ended up failing that class. And I actually ended up going to summer school for it, the summer going into my senior year, not the next summer, because I just wanted to postpone it as much as I can. I didn't want to go to summer school for that. And I thought it was BS, but it was my fault. So that's sophomore year. Sophomore year was pretty much me struggling with geometry. All my other classes weren't as bad. I was actually doing really well, but I failed a class. Like, I legit failed the class in sophomore year. There were other classes I was iffy about. I was around the very low C's, but I was still passing. I kept getting called into my guidance counselor, being told I need to do this, I need to do that, just her screaming at me, etc., etc. And that was pretty much sophomore year. Now let's get into my junior year. Now, junior year, like I said before, I peaked. I was trying my ass off in junior year. Freshman and sophomore year, I completely fucked up. I wanted to redeem myself. I was tired of going into the counselor's office every day. Literally, my teachers were tired of it. They were writing notes before I even got to the class because they knew I was going to get called into the counselor. I tried really hard my junior year, and I had really good teachers my junior year. I passed all my classes, B's, A's, etc. And junior year was flying by for me. So there's nothing really to talk much about that. But now we get to the last and final year. Senior year, right? Senior year, I did not give a fuck. I did the bare minimum. Obviously, I still have to pass. Not just, oh, he's a senior, he can fail, he's still gonna leave. Like, no, I still had to pass, but I did the bare minimum. I actually had fewer classes because I was able to get all my credits, so I was leaving home earlier. And again, I got a little too cocky, and I started playing with everything little by little, tugging on strings I should not be tugging on. And I had a ceramics class. If you've taken ceramics or know anything about it, it's clay. You have to mold clay together and you make a bowl or something like that. Actually, I hate when my hands get super dirty like that and things get under my nails. It is one of my biggest pet peeves, and I hate it. I hate it so much. So that class just consists of that. And I thought the class was gonna be fun, but I never took that into consideration. So we had our little table, which was kind of known as the bad table because everyone that sat on that table didn't do anything, and we just messed around the whole class period. It was just a free class period for us. I was skipping out on projects, and obviously we're graded on the projects. There's nothing else to be graded on other than the projects you have to do. I was skipping out on like back-to-back projects. I wasn't even trying to do it. And then who comes calling one day? The guidance counselor. He calls me down. My ceramics teacher tells me to go down, and she says, again, really? And I'm like, why? What's wrong? Because I didn't even know my grade for ceramics like that. Because how my teacher did it was he was very late on putting in grades, so late that the projects that I did really early in the year, that was my grade still. So like, say if I had an 80, my 80 from the beginning of the year is still there, even though we did like 3 projects. He just hasn't graded them. So I don't know my grade yet. I'm thinking I can still pull this off. And I get down there and she tells me, she's like, your grade's a 36. And I was like, oh, fuck. Not even a 45. He was like, your grade's a 36. You need to get your shit together now. And she was like, if you don't pass this, if you don't get A's on all your projects that you do now, you're not gonna pass that class, and I'm gonna have to retake that class somehow. I don't know how that works. I don't know if I go to summer school. I don't know if I repeat the whole grade for that. I wasn't too sure what they wanted to do with me because I was a senior at that time. I started doing the projects more and more and more, and I started acing them. I had A's, I had really high B's, but even the B's, you know, they weren't acceptable because my grade at the end was like a 65. It's just one over what I needed. And I nearly had to retake that class, but I tried my ass off. I kept going. And then I finally graduate. My guidance counselor looks at me. She's like, honestly, I don't know how you did it. And I looked at her and I'm like, I have no fucking clue either. I got completely lucky. I don't know how I didn't stay back at least once. You know, I did have to retake a class, but it's not because I wasn't smart. It was because I just didn't apply myself to it. I kept failing and failing and failing, and it's just tiring. I'm just tired of me going to the counselor's office, getting yelled at, my parents yelling at me, seeing the grades being really low, my teachers even yelling at me at some points. And so I finally got my shit together, started passing a bit more, and I finally was able to graduate high school. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed today's little story time video about me nearly failing all years of high school, being told that I was gonna be held back a lot of times, and I didn't. Till this day, I still don't know how I ended up graduating with my class, but hey, it happened. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please leave a like, subscribe, hit that button down below, and I'll catch you guys on Monday. Peace out.